Hello and welcome. We were trying to go live for the last couple of minutes and it wasn't working, but that's life. That's all the fun of doing live shows. Correct. So welcome to our Dare to Be You TV live show. We've got a really great show lined up for you tonight, where our topic this week is, since when did life need to be perfect? And the question that we're going to be looking at, the question we're going to be answering this week is, how do I leave a bad relationship when I'm really, really scared? So that's a really meaty question there.
Yeah, it's quite weak, isn't it?
Yeah. So before we kind of get right into the show, Bec, what have you got to share with us?
Well, I'm back.
Yeah, Bec's back from holiday.
For anyone that didn't notice.
Yeah.
I was away the last 2 weeks, left Deb to her own devices.
I managed a whole hour.
She survived.
I actually went overtime last week, so
that sounds about right.
That sounds rather
one
like
thing
me.
Deb can do well, it's talk.
Indeed, indeed.
So yes, I'm back and pretty excited about tonight's show. I came back into the office on Monday and Deb's all there excited with her organised pieces of paper. I've got the topic for this week. I've got the question for this week. I'm very organised. So yeah, it's going to be a good show this week because Deb's been super organised while I've been away. So here we are. So learning and living. Deb, do you want to start with your learning and living?
Oh gosh, well, this week has been quite a week for me, as in I have decided to get myself a new car. I've had my car for quite a while now, and I've decided it's time to get a new one. And so I've been going into car showrooms, going around, looking. And the last time I got a car, it's a big deal for me buying a car, but the last time I got a car, I literally just went into one place, listened to everything that the man in the showroom said, just said yes to the car, signed on the dotted line, and that was it. I had this car. And like about a week in, I really regretted my decision. So this time, probably working and living with Bec has rubbed off on me a little bit. And I kind of decided that I would actually look into the pros and cons of different cars. And it's been a really, really interesting thing to do. I've been out this afternoon looking at a couple of cars, and I've met a really beautiful, wonderful salesman who, it's kind of that old joke, isn't it? When you don't want to be like a car salesman, but this man, he's just been really, really lovely. And it's kind of just showed me that there's a new paradigm of people coming in. We're changing our ways and we're changing how we do things. Yeah. And he literally sat me down and he said, the first thing that I want to know is, what is the right car for you? He wasn't kind of interested in, well, maybe he was, but he was definitely kind of coming across himself. And I spent quite a lot of time with him this afternoon, and in the end, he won't let me buy a car from him because he hasn't got the car that's right for me. And he said, I'd rather not sell you a car than sell you, than try and fob you off with a car that isn't right for you. And interestingly, I've kind of come home and I'm actually trying to find a way that one of the cars that he's got on his forecourt is the right car for me, because he's such a lovely man. And it kind of really showed me, with our business and what we do, very much I am so passionate, and I know Bec is the same. I know I'm speaking for her. We're so passionate about what we do. We so love being helpful to people. And if what we do, one of the reasons we put out these kinds of shows, one of the reasons we're out there and kind of making such a noise and sharing what we share, is because, to me, if people resonate with us and want to work with us, then brilliant, and I would love to work with you. But if not, then I'd rather you went to a different car showroom. So yeah, it's definitely kind of this whole buying a new car has it's shown me a different view of sales and salespeople, and how we can do things differently, and how human beings. One of the things I know, when people talk about sales, is they say people don't buy a product or a thing, they buy the person. And as I said, this really lovely car salesman that I've been talking to, I definitely want to buy him. He's just so lovely.
Surprised you didn't come home with him.
tucked under my arm. No, I can really see how we buy somebody who is genuine, somebody who, you know, he loves his product and he's very genuine about what it is he's doing. I could really see how we buy into a person and what they stand for. So that was it was beautiful learning from me for me. So yeah,
it's really interesting, isn't it? Because as you're talking about that, I'm reminded we regularly have conversations, don't we? Because like you were saying earlier, there's work that we're putting out there. You know, sometimes it's a free YouTube show, sometimes it's a mentoring package, sometimes it's a retreat, whatever it might be. We often have conversations about kind of how we share that with people and where the kind of, here's our favorite word, balance comes into play. Because we are all about the balance, and we can really see that place of balance where we don't want to hide what we're doing. We don't want to go, oh, no, we can't market, we can't share, we can't tell people about this, because then no one will know about it, which is pointless. Equally, we don't want to be one of those people that you do kind of, you know, makes you shiver, or it makes me shiver when someone is trying to sell at me. And you can feel that from someone,
definitely,
can't you?
You can feel it.
And we regularly have conversations when we've got stuff coming up, when we're, you know, when we're thinking about what emails we want to send and stuff. We'll regularly kind of check in. Are we doing too much, or are we not doing enough? Because I know one of your things is you like to be looked after by someone.
I absolutely do, yeah. And it's really showed me with, you know, the whole buying a new car and going into showrooms and that kind of thing. It's really showed me I like people to talk to me. I like people to tell me, you know, what it is they're selling. I like that. It is interesting how different
we're slightly
we are,
different on that, aren't we?
Around
because I'm
that,
a little bit more sensitive with that. And I think we've had instances where I've said, right, I'm unsubscribing from that mailing list because it's too much, and Deb's there going, too much, they haven't contacted me enough. And like, so there's this personal balance as well that I see, is that for me personally, the balance in that instant, I was getting too many emails, but the balance for you was off. And it is, you know, you're never going to meet everyone's needs in that sense. And so we are regularly having those kinds of conversations to kind of, and I think that's where how we do that works really well, because you'll up the stakes a little and I'll, you know, rein it in a little.
Interestingly, I've had a couple of people in the past, not so much now, but definitely when I wasn't quite so maybe quite so confident. I don't know if that's the right word exactly, but I've had people who kind of wanted to work with me, and I haven't made any offers whatsoever about people working with me. You know, I haven't said that I do anything. And there's two people that I can actually bring to mind, I know, that have kind of cornered me and kind of said, I love what you do. How do you work with people? And I've kind of looked like a rabbit caught in the headlines and go, oh, work with people? People pay me to do this? You know, so it's definitely, it was really interesting learning for me to see the different salesmen in different showrooms, you know, and the way that they are. And from this understanding and from seeing, you know, knowing where our experience come from, it's made it a really interesting thing for me to kind of watch how it all works. And like we've said, you can't necessarily, there has to be some balance in it, but you can't always get it right.
No.
Because
everyone you're going to be coming across is going to have a different feel for that.
And definitely between us, you know, for me, when I'm sending out emails because I would want that email, and then Bec is a little bit like, oh, I'm not sure I would want that one.
You know, and we, you know, I'm sure you'll know, we don't always get that right either. But I think what I'm hearing, kind of what you're saying, is how nice it is when we go out into the world to do the ordinary stuff like buying a new car, how we can see that other people are doing their best as well. Like, so he's there going, you know what, I don't want to sell you a car if it's not the car you want, which is such a different approach to someone who's just desperately wants to sell a car, because that, you know, all they're caring about is say the money of it, rather than the joy of just selling a car.
And I think it's so easy to get caught up in that. I know sometimes, you know, when you're in business, whatever kind of business, or even if you've got a job, you know, a lot of people go out and, you know, work their job because they feel they need the money. What really kind of came home to me, and me and my daughter, I went out with my daughter this afternoon, and we actually had a conversation, and she said, I'm finding it really interesting, Mum, watching you. You actually are prepared to pay more money for not quite such a good product because that man was so genuine with you. And I was kind of like, yeah, I definitely can see that. And I think we we get more. I think we get more from someone who is genuine with what it is they do. And it was great learning for me, because I love what I do. I can't tell you how much this understanding coming across is, I could even get, quite choked up about the difference that this has made in my life. And the reason that I would want to work with people, the reason that I would want conversations with people, is because I want them to see what I have seen. And I can genuinely see that if we have the courage to look to the areas of our life that often scare us, and often we don't want to look, the kind of dark side of ourselves, if for want of a better way of saying it, I can just so see the benefit that people get. But definitely my lovely car salesman was a lesson to me today, to just, again, come back to that place of what's right for the person that's in front of you. So.
Nice.
So what was your living and learning this week?
I guess it's going to have to be Scotland, isn't it?
Yes, I thought it might be holiday.
So I haven't been here for the last 2 weeks because I was away. I was up in Scotland with my partner on our annual holiday, and we it was really interesting. Actually, we had a really lovely holiday, and we have a really good time together. Like when we hang out, we're just very easy and comfortable with each other, and we like a lot of the same things, and then the things that we like slightly differently, we're pretty good at kind of getting along with each other when it's like, oh, I don't want to do that, but I'll do it for you, dear, kind of, so we had a really, really nice holiday. But I'd been planning the holiday for quite a few months, and Deb will kind of, she sat here with me a few
evenings extraordinaire.
I sat here for quite a few. I can't find a campsite here, and I don't know what to do here. So I'd spent quite a bit of time planning it, and the whole time I'm planning it, we were going camping in Scotland the last week of August. Now, in my head, August is a summer month, so I'm camping and I'm going to be in my shorts and it's going to be nice weather. Now, obviously, you can already hear the slight unlikeliness in that.
Scotland.
Scotland is pretty famous for it's up north, it's cold, it's grey, it's a bit wet. So one of the things that for me over those 2 weeks holiday was this whole expectations and how we set things up, what we're expecting things to be like. And I had absolutely got it set up in my mind that this was going to be, a dry holiday. There might be a little bit of rain. Yeah, it was my summer holiday. There might be a bit of rain, and that would be funny. And we've got some waterproofs. And what actually happened was, I don't think we had a single day of complete sunshine. We definitely had some moments of sunshine, some moments, and we definitely had some moments where it wasn't raining, but predominantly it rained for our 10 days we were actually away on holiday. It just rained and rained and rained and rained and rained. Now, I'm a fairly seasoned camper. Camping's been, we were brought up camping. I've been on lots of camping holidays. Andrew and I have been camping together a lot of times as well. But this is without doubt one of the wettest camping holidays I've ever had. I was soaked through on one particular day when we'd gone out for a walk and got caught out in the rain. And I think for me, what really kept coming over those 10 days of holiday was how easy it is to set up these expectations, and then when something doesn't work out the way you'd expected and planned it, how easy it is to go into a story. It should be different. It should be like this. It shouldn't have rained for our holiday. We shouldn't have got soaked. We should have this. We should have that. Because there was quite a few things that we didn't get to do because they were outdoorsy things, and we were kind of dashing in and out of the car in our waterproofs, trying to keep relatively dry. So there was quite a few things that we kind of said, oh, we won't do that because it's a bit too wet, or we will go and do that because it's an indoor thing, that sort of thing. And I definitely noticed over those 10 days, comparative to, a previous lifetime, when I would have just written that holiday off and been like, right, what's the point? We might as well just go home. We're both wet. We're unhappy, but actually we found ways to enjoy ourselves, things that we could do. We did some research. We spoke to people. Where's the best place to go, that's undercover that we can.
I guess in Scotland, people will probably know
what to do in the rain, surprisingly, and we found ways around it. And there was one particular day we went out to see, there's some beautiful caves on a beach where you kind of go along this really amazing walk through the woods and come out onto a beach, and these incredible caves on the seaside, and well worth a visit. And we'd gone there we were driving around a little bit and looking at places, and we knew they were there, and we kind of went, right, let's go now, it's dry. Kind of threw on our waterproofs, got out of the car, and within 10 minutes it was just rain like I've never known it before. And we were kind of halfway there and sort of thought, there's no point giving up now, the rain will stop in a few minutes. It didn't stop. It rained and rained and rained and rained some more. So by the time we'd done the loop walk and got back to the car, I can't even explain how wet through we were. We were just
Were your pants wet?
Everything, like my toes, I think my bones inside my fingers were wet. It was that's how wet we kind of got. But we had a real laugh about it, and we had a real kind of, oh, we're in a car park, what are we going to do? We're soaking wet. Shall we just throw everything off in the car? All those kinds of fun things that you do when you're not in the headspace of, oh, this shouldn't have happened. Yeah. We shouldn't have gotten wet on our holiday. And it was just so nice to me, for me, again, to kind of see that when I understand what's happening with my thinking, when I see how life really plays out, there's just some incredible, and we'll always look back on that holiday with that really wet holiday we had. Let's not go camping in Scotland at that time a year ago, and we had some amazing, one of my favorite things is going to see castles, and because of Scotland being that kind of historical place, there's a lot of castles, so we got to do a lot of castles, which was brilliant. I loved it. And we even brought a book about castles and things like that, so we were reading, Andrew was kind of reading to me because I'm the driver. He's reading to me about castles as we're driving to the next castle. Like, oh, we can look out for that. So we made a really good holiday of it. But if you'd have asked me 3 weeks before, that was not the holiday we were going to have. And it just always comes back to me, this, how we set things up.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is how life should go. Here's my box. This is what it should be like. And, not just with a holiday, in all sorts of ways in life. And I think that is where that question we're going to answer next, about how do I leave a bad relationship when I'm really scared. To me, that's one of those areas where we've set it up. I shouldn't leave a relationship. If I'm in a relationship, I should stay in it for life. It's only a success if we stay together and we put boxes around things. It's a holiday, I'm camping, it should be sunny. And then we box ourselves in, and then we don't appreciate the beauty of the moments that we have.
I feel when we put ourselves in those boxes in any way, and we definitely do it with there is some form of it shouldn't be like this, isn't definitely. There? Something going on, it should be different to this. And it looks to me that when we do that, we stop being able to connect to that deeper part of ourselves. And when we open to that, in the simplest of ways, like you say, on your holiday, it's like you find things to do, or you see ways around it, or it's almost like you go to a higher level and you can see something else in a weird kind of a way. But it really feels that when we are okay with what is, then things tend to be okay. And it is, to me, it's awareness. Like being aware, this is how my experience is created. And the minute my head starts to say, it shouldn't be like this, and trust me, over the last week car shopping, there has been many occasions when my head has said, it should not be like this. And you can feel it in every part of your body, can't you? We live in the feeling of what we're thinking. And even, there's a lot of stuff there that I can't put words on, but you feel it in your body, like it shouldn't be raining, it shouldn't be like, the car in the right colour should be, it should have the, whatever it was, the all the spec that I want, and whatever it is. And your head starts to kind of argue and say, it shouldn't, some form of it should not be like this. You can absolutely feel it. And to me, being aware, in the 90-day course that we're in the middle of at the moment, we're kind of looking at know yourself and knowing what you're like as a human being, and seeing what it is, what are your default places that you go to when you get into that feeling. And I can absolutely see what comes to me, and that is how often, saying that my mum used to say, how often do I cut my nose off to spite my face? Because we're kind of, it shouldn't be like this, so I'm going to have a temper tantrum, and I'm not going to, I'm starving hungry, but I'm not going to have anything to eat because I'm having a temper tantrum, and then I'm the one that's suffering whatever it is.
And I can so see that on holiday, because my go-to place is control. Like the reason one of the reasons I do lots of planning is because I can go into that control place. And I do that from the planning, I do it from a much lighter headspace now.
Yeah.
But I can really see how, like, in the first couple of days that we were away, a couple of things happened that just were entirely unplanned. A ferry got cancelled, so we couldn't get to the island we were visiting, which meant we had to book a bed and breakfast we hadn't planned on booking. A friend contacted because they were having a really tough time and needed to speak to someone. And I'm there going, I can't speak to you, I'm on holiday and I've just had to pay for a bed and breakfast. And all these things are going on. And then we get over to the island nearly a whole day late. So I feel like I've lost a day of my holiday, and it is pouring with rain, and we're struggling to try and put the tent
and
up.
our head goes into this place, and if someone should be
I'm
to blame, somebody needs to compensate you.
Or, I was doing all of that. The ferry company needs to compensate me, and I need to control this. So from now on,
because
I've got to do this
shouldn't
and this.
Be like this.
And the first day or two of my holiday, I was right up in my head, and I knew it was going on, but it's that whole. For me, the main difference with this understanding when stuff like that's happening for me is I don't engage with it the way I used to. So I knew it was going on, and I just kept coming back to, you're on holiday. Just have some fun. Just do something fun, whatever that might be. Go for a walk on the beach. I mean, we were camping literally right next to a beach. And yes, it was pouring with rain on and off, but we had waterproof. So we went for a walk on the beach. And by the time we got to the end of the beach, I can't remember for why now, but Andrew decided I needed to be on his shoulders. So I was on his shoulders, and he's tramping along the beach in his waterproofs, and I'm on his shoulders in my waterproofs. Those kinds of moments.
Memories are made of this.
Those kind of moments. We're not going to look back and go, oh yeah, it poured with rain. Remember when you put me on your shoulders on the beach? That, to me, is what this understanding is doing for us.
It definitely opens us up to seeing things from a very, very different place. Absolutely, I can see, for me, those sorts of things. And when my mind starts going to it should not be like this, then it's kind of like, are you sure it shouldn't be like this? Because it is like this. So maybe the fact that it is like this. And I think everything that is the way it is, however difficult it looks, we can really begin to see that there's a lesson in there, a gift in there, something beautiful in there for us if we get curious. And from a place of understanding the nature of thought, from a place of understanding a deeper truth of who we are, we get to see something completely different.
Yeah, and definitely that's, for me, what was happening on that. I went into that, I've got to control this at the beginning of the holiday, and very quickly went into, what if you can just enjoy your holiday even though your ferry got cancelled, and even though you've, a day spent on the mainland,
even though you don't control the entire universe,
even though I can't stop the rain, and trust me, I could not stop the rain. Nothing I did, but we ended up having an amazing time, and the fun we had setting up things like a tarpaulin on some rope hanging between some trees so that we had some undercover area to sit and cook our dinner. And, those kinds of things were just so much fun. And we wouldn't have had those moments if it had just been beautiful sunshine. We'd have been, I don't know what we'd have been doing, something entirely different. But those are the memories we've now created. And for me, that it just keeps coming back when we do this slot on the YouTube show about learning and living. It's like it just keeps coming back that I'm learning all the time, and I'm living this all the time, and I live a really, really nice life, and I still have all sorts of thinking in my head. I still have that. It's not that that's...
the gift of thought is a beautiful gift. It's an amazing gift. I think sometimes, when we have this discussion, it can feel as if thought is the enemy.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I know we've said it a few times, but it's kind of like, thought to me is like maybe like a 2-year-old child or something, and they're not the enemy, they're not the bad guy. It's just getting to know them and understanding them and loving, you kind of do, you just love it. And I'm a bit like that with my thinking now. I love everything that I think, even though some of it it's a little bit odd and scary, weird, odd, peculiar, out there. It's great. So
yeah, which I think brings us very nicely into our question for this week.
Absolutely. So, how do I leave a bad relationship when I am really scared?
Well, this is one we both had some experience in, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of,
I'm going to actually start by saying something that I think I'm going to say this, and then we'll kind of maybe answer the question in a different way. But in a slightly jokey way, actually, there's a thing that says, "How do you eat an elephant?" And the answer is one bite at a time, isn't it? Because it's the literally, I'm not advising you to eat elephants. That's probably not very nice. But the idea is that when you've got something in front of you that seems really big and scary, do it literally one step at a time. And I think what we can do as human beings, when we ask a question like that, or anything like that we're looking at, what we tend to think is we've got to have all of the answers, everything set up right now before we can even so much as think about leaving. Let's take that example. If we're going to leave a relationship, maybe we need somewhere else to live. Maybe, if we move somewhere else, we're not going to be able to get to work so easily. Maybe we've got to talk to the person and tell them we're leaving the relationship. Maybe we've got to tell our family, or if you've got children, suddenly there's hundreds of things that looks like we've got to sort out. And I think when we ask questions like that, what we're really saying is, how do I have every single thing in line and sorted before I so much as think about leaving that relationship? And one of the things that I've come to see a lot through this conversation is that even when we think, like planning my holiday in Scotland, even when we think we've got it all planned, that isn't how life unfolds. Life has this way of meeting us where we are when we're there.
What was coming to me when you were saying that is all of that is in this future place.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, and it is, definitely, how do I leave a bad relationship when I'm really scared? What is it you're scared of? Fear is, we've created a future. Yeah. That's we get scared of our thoughts about the future. Even when we say we're scared of the future, how can you be scared of the future? You've got no idea what it is. Yeah. The only thing you're scared of is what you have made up about the future. So definitely it is, as soon as we've taken ourselves into a future, and without a doubt, when we're kind of in that place of leaving what we are calling a bad relationship because we are scared, we have definitely made up a lot of stories that are incredibly scary. And what I have seen again and again with human beings, with myself, with Bec, with people we work with all sorts of people, is we are absolutely rubbish at trying to decide what to do about something that is in the future, whether it be 10 minutes in the future, 2 hours, 2 days, 2 months, 2 years. We're not very good at kind of imagining what to do in that future scenario because we're not there, and it's like an incomplete equation. There will be the wisdom of the moment, something that can occur to us in that moment can't occur because we're not there yet.
Ready for it.
And yet if we just take the next small step, do what we can do, come back here, rein it back in, and come back to this moment, come back to where we are right now. And what we see is that in any given moment, and it took me, I have to say, a little while to get my head around this and kind of thought about this. So maybe something for after, if this doesn't make sense to you right now, to get curious about over the next week is seeing this place of okayness that is within all of us. And no matter what appears to be going on in this moment holds the allness of everything. It holds beauty, it holds grace, there is nothing missing in this moment. And this moment is the most beautiful moment you have ever been alive. And when we kind of get curious, and what does that even mean? If you're going through a really tough time and you're kind of looking at the camera and, getting really cross with me and shaking your fist and kind of saying, you have no idea what's going on for me right now. That's what when I'm saying this took me a little while to get my head around. I'm not saying that maybe your circumstances aren't tough, but what I'm saying is what we are pointing to, what this understanding points towards, is that when we follow our truth or follow our heart or follow that deeper part of us, when we kind of get to know that, what we begin to see is, even when it pours with rain in Scotland and we're in a tent, even when something we really don't want to, when every cell of our body appears to be saying this should be different, if we can kind of be okay with that's what we're thinking and get curious and see if there is something else, what you will find is that there is something else. There is something underneath that the foundation, the deeper truth of who we are. And from that place, the thing that blows me away about human beings is I have seen people with all sorts of everything going on and spoken to other teachers of this sort of understanding, and when we get to that place, which we're wired to get to, we're already there. It's not something that only a select few have. All of us have the ability to connect to that, and I've watched people connect to that place in themselves and find their way out of the most difficult circumstances that kind of make my mouth drop open, that people can do that. And so it's kind of getting curious about that deeper truth of who you are. And there isn't, I wish there was, well, do I? I'm not sure, but let's pretend I wish there was kind of if you want to leave a bad relationship, number one, do this, number two, do this, number three, do this. But that isn't the life we've been born into. That isn't how this works. There isn't a, A to Z guide and 5 steps to leave any bad relationship. It is yours to do in your time when it's right for you. And what I would say is get curious and get to know yourself a little bit more.
Yeah, I think, like, as you started saying there, if you sat down, because like I said at the beginning of this question, Deb and I both had experiences of that kind of situation, entirely different in lots of ways and some similarities of the ways. But if you actually plotted out what Deb did and what I did, there is kind of virtually no similarity in how we kind of approached what happened for us. But what I think is the underlying similarity, as you were saying just there, is that there's this wisdom that guides us, that comes kind of through us. And what I've seen happen with us and with other people, it almost takes us hitting rock bottom before we're prepared to listen to our wisdom. Because as humans, our intellect is going, no, find the answer, find the 5 steps, find the way to get out of the relationship.
And you've always got people who are saying, here is the 5 steps
the
to do this, here's the answer.
Yeah. And yet underneath that, our wisdom is gently guiding us and gently saying, maybe it's time to just walk away now, or maybe it's time to do this differently, or maybe the next step is it. And we just override that wisdom continually. And
I would think the very fact that somebody is asking that question, how do I leave a bad relationship when I'm really scared? I think if you connect back to yourself, you know how to do that.
The answer.
You don't need us to, and the only thing that we can tell you is to connect to your heart and take those tiny, small steps. For you, it might feel like a huge leap, but something, it could be, making a phone call, speaking to someone. But what I've noticed is that we all have a kind of, whether it comes out as a voice or whether it's a knowing, there is something about us that kind of knows. And interestingly, what's going to me right now is I've been looking at cars for a week and I haven't bought one yet. And there's been 1 or 2 cars that fit all the criteria that should be the right car, and I haven't bought a car because there is something in me that knows I haven't found my car yet. And it's like, part of what I'm playing around with now is kind of following my heart, following that voice within me, that wisdom that isn't even a voice, that isn't even wisdom, but there is just something there that knows. And again, this is another fun invitation for you to play around with that and see for yourself, and just watch what the next thing is that you do.
And I think you were sort of touched on this as well, and I think this keeps coming to me when I talk about feelings. And I can't remember, somebody recently messaged and said something about not being afraid of their feelings, and it really jumped out at me because it is something we do. We have a feeling and then we place a lot of weight on it. So in this scenario, for example, we might say, I'm scared. And I definitely, in my situation, it was a good 1.5 years that I was scared and kind of knew I had to leave, but didn't do anything because I was so scared of the thinking going through my head. And yet underneath is this wisdom saying, you need to leave, you need to do something different, you need to just take the next step here, whatever that might be. And what I know now, which I didn't know then, was I didn't have to be scared of my thinking. The thinking that was saying, you can't leave, you can't do that, you can't take that step, you don't know where you'll end up, you don't know what will happen. I didn't actually have to listen to that thinking. I could take the steps anyway, even with the thinking that's in my head. A bit like I was saying about on holiday, I was having that thinking saying it shouldn't be raining, but I was still able to go out and have a nice time.
Not listening to it.
Because I knew I didn't have to listen to it.
Yeah.
And when the question, how do I leave a bad relationship when I'm really scared? I think the simple answer to me is know that you don't have to be scared of your thinking. Know that you don't have to listen to that thinking, and that wisdom will come through anyway. It's inbuilt for us to have.
And there will be something, the very fact that you're kind of, even if it's not this question, if it's the, whatever it is, how do I do this? This bad thing or whatever, I'm scared or whatever it is. The reason, probably one of the reasons I would say that you're scared is because the answer is already there. And it's like, something in me saying I've got to leave, and obviously I can't do that. And it's kind of like listening to that wisdom, listening to that small voice. If somebody, if there's something within you that's saying, I stayed in my bad relationship for over 20 years while I got, my wisdom was kind of just saying, leave. And, it never got bored. It just kept saying really quietly and gently to me, leave. And all of a sudden one day it's like, oh, I got a voice inside my head saying, leave, let's leave. But I think it's always there. And the whole reason that we ask these questions, the whole reason that these questions arise in us is because that we kind of want to follow our wisdom. We know there's something there. We know that that's what we should do. So, but we're asking the question because we have a lot of thinking or a lot of feelings or a lot of stuff, noisy stuff that's kind of saying, well, you can't leave. You can't follow your wisdom. Your wisdom's got it wrong this time. What will happen? How will you? And it is just seeing that actually taking the next step and following our wisdom, taking that leap. And, it might feel like it's something huge, or it might just be something really small. But the answer is, just take that step. And if, listen to your wisdom for a little bit longer, if you need to, listen for that small voice. Know yourself, get to know yourself a little bit better.
Definitely. Because that's that thing I talked about earlier, was that whole where we box things in. It's like, I want to leave the relationship because it's bad, but the answer has to look like this. And we draw a picture in our mind of what the answer has to look like. And then someone's there saying, this is the answer. No, that doesn't look like my answer. I'll look over here. This is the answer. No, that's not the one. And we keep looking for an answer that's different. Our wisdom is telling us. Our wisdom's giving us the answer, and we're looking for something else. But no, it can't be that. And yet, like Deb says, our wisdom will keep telling us. It will keep coming. It will keep guiding, because that's its job. And so, if you're saying, how do I leave a relationship, and you haven't done that yet, your wisdom will keep guiding you there if that's the right thing for you.
And very often in my experience, because relationships is definitely my area, both through my own experiences and through working with people. The very fact that part of this question is, how do I leave a bad relationship? It's kind of like, obviously things have happened, and it's kind of like, that you're ready to leave because, this isn't good within a relationship. And then it's kind of seeing that what, in my experience, tends to happen is, if that isn't bad enough to cause you to leave, if you stay, something else will happen, and something else will happen, and something else will happen. It's like the universe nudges us to follow our heart, to follow that deeper truth of who we are. Or to wake us up. It's like an alarm clock. It's like wake up to the truth of who you are, and step into being who you are. Interestingly, me and Bec had a conversation earlier on today, and Bec kind of said to me, she said, I can't imagine you ever being in an abusive relationship now. Nope. And then during the afternoon, something happened, while I was out, something kind of happened, and I was like, this is one of those situations where this could go either way. And what I saw was my own awareness of how experiences created and who I am, my habitual places to go, completely averted any kind of crisis whatsoever. And that is why I can't be in, and it doesn't look to me like I could be in an abusive relationship anymore because, because of that awareness. So definitely kind of just getting curious.
Yeah. So hopefully that's answered that question. But stay in the conversation.
Absolutely.
Because, we know where you're at. We've both been there. So
totally. And, anybody, if that's raised any questions for anybody, then please, we're very accessible. We have our Facebook group. We have all sorts of ways you can get in touch with us. Don't kind of sit and suffer in silence.
No. So our topic for this week.
Oh, yes. It's, what was it? Since when does life have to be perfect?
Well, if you see all my spreadsheets, yes, it does. I'm burning up. I've got a really warm face. I think it's the pressure of being under the spotlight.
Yes, I think it must be.
Since when did life have to be perfect? This is one of those questions that, like, having been around the kind of principles conversation for 4 or 5 years now, and you a little bit longer, you do kind of sometimes, it sounds as though that's what people are saying when you start to talk about, I had this insight and now I see it this way and life's perfect. It can sound like that's what's being said in this kind of conversation and around this understanding of these principles. Life has to be perfect. And once you know the principles, life will be perfect. And I think that's a really fundamental misunderstanding, in one sense, that what we've got set up as perfect is the misunderstanding. In my mind, we say, so perfect would look like this.
Because I was going to say, there's a little bit of a paradox, isn't it? Because what I also see now is, no matter what happens in life, I can see that it's perfect.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, it would have been a little bit like you say, this control, why do we plan? Why do we have to have control? Why do we do that? It's because we believe that if things don't pan out, if things don't unfold the way that we think they should, then, we're in trouble. Life's no good. And it's kind of seeing, do you know what? No matter how life unfolds, your okayness isn't riding on it. It just isn't. And it is a very, very paradoxical kind of answer, because initially when we first kind of had a discussion about this, and I said, the topic this week,
we're going to kind of take the two sides of it.
It's kind of like seeing the one part of, straight away, what I wanted to say is, so whose life isn't perfect? Life is perfect. Who said life doesn't have to be perfect? Well, actually it is.
Yeah.
And then also
I can
absolutely see the two sides of that coin.
Because it's that perfect. When where I was kind of going with that is that how we have it set up as this is what perfect should look. Again, it's that being boxed in thing, isn't it? We've set it up that if life is going to be perfect, it's going to look like this.
This is perfect.
This is
number
what
1, this.
Is.
Number 2, this. Number 3, that. This is perfect.
And straight away, you can see the problem with that, because my number 1 on that list is going to be different to yours. Is going to be different to yours. It's going to be, and so on. So life isn't going to be perfect if we're boxing it into number 1, number 2, number 3. But then the paradox and what you were pointing to there is that whatever happens and however life unfolds, that is perfect. There is perfection.
And when we stop having that box, when we kind of begin to look to the perfection of this moment, because that is all we have got, there isn't, it's beginning to see, for me, it was the moment that I realized there is nothing to gain and nothing to lose. Like, very often, everything, it looks to me like, pre this understanding, before I kind of had that insight, most of what I do was so that I would be better, or so that I could get something, so that I could have more of something or less of something for whatever reason. And what this understanding has kind of brought me towards, what I have started to see is that this moment contains everything. It lacks nothing. Absolutely nothing. And okay, we can kind of go, yeah, but you haven't got your car yet, or yeah, but you haven't got the right handbag yet, or you don't live in the right house yet, or you haven't got enough money yet, or we could do a bazillion things and say, no, this moment does
This
lack
isn't
something.
perfect.
But when we begin to see that there is nothing, you can't add something to this moment that would make it something more, and you can't take anything from this. There's nothing that we can gain and nothing that we can lose. And then we're just kind of in the game. And it becomes way, way, way more lighthearted, way more easy. And then you kind of get the question to people, well, how do you get to that place of seeing that this moment, there is nothing you can add to this moment that could make it more, and nothing that you could take from this moment that would make it lack something? And that to me is this is what we talk about. This is what these lives are about. This is the Facebook group. This is what it's pointing everyone towards. Somewhere inside of you, you personally know how you can get to that place. And maybe you would talk about it in completely different words to me.
That's where I was going to kind of go next, is that in what you're kind of saying there, I've had kind of insights around life being perfect. And what was coming to me as you were talking about that is starting, what I would term it, start from perfect. If you start from knowing that everything is perfect, then as life unfolds, you see the perfection in the unfolding. But you can't trick the system. You can't sit and go, okay, I'm going to pretend it's perfect and go from there. No, not feeling it. Because we can't do that. We can't trick this system, this universe, this whatever it is we're a part of, this essence, this energy that is what we are and what is creating. We can't trick it. We can't pretend that we've seen something we haven't seen. So for me, I've definitely had insights around that whole life is perfect. What's unfolding and what's playing out is perfect. And then I have a thought that says it isn't. I have a thought that says it shouldn't rain when I'm on holiday. I have a thought, or Deb has a thought, I should get the car that I want. It's perfect. And then we have a thought that says it isn't. And it for me, it comes back to that simplicity again.
Yeah.
That's it. We live in a perfect system. Nothing that happens, nothing that is happening, nothing that has happened is imperfect. We just have a thought that says it's imperfect.
And even that thought is perfect.
How can it not be? It's the same essence
that's
what
creating. Gives us our experience. The fact that we are blessed, gifted with the power of thought, means that we can have this experience, means that we can go out and buy a new car, means that we can go on holiday to Scotland, means that we can live an experience. And what an amazing gift, what a beautiful blessing. And from a place of complete safety. But it kind of, I don't know, I suppose there's an element here where we're kind of like, are you sure? And we have to see that for ourselves. There isn't, I wish that I could see that for everybody. And part of the excitement when you get the tiniest glimpse of that for yourself, we do go a little bit wacky and kind of like, I want to share this with everyone because we want other people to have that glimpse and to see that. And a massive, massive thing that is going for us here is that we're pointing to something that exists.
Yeah.
So, it's not, if you're looking in this direction, it's not beyond you to see this.
No. And I was writing a blog today, spoiler alert for anyone that gets this blog next week. And I talked about something about, it's almost like we have spiritual ears that prick up when we start talking about truth. They're like, I've got ears on the side of my head, probably like you, but I've got spiritual ears as well that kind of, when we have these conversations, it's like they come away, oh, they're talking about truth. Oh, they're talking about our spiritual nature. This is me. This is my bit. I'm going to listen here. Somewhere in us, we know this to be true. And these words might not be the right words, but our spiritual ears kind of go, yep, this is my thing. This is something I know about. Somewhere in us, we know the truth of what we're saying here. You do, we do. We can't help but know it. And we might I know some people, and I know I did this for a long time when Deb tried to share, we might try and resist it. No, I can't. I don't want to hear this, because it feels like we're going to have to go somewhere scared. I'm going to have to accept that life's perfect when I know there's imperfect things. No, I can't hear that. And yet somewhere in us, we do know.
We keep, in my experience, we keep kind of coming back to it. We try to walk away, but something brings us back because there is something in us that knows that there is a truth here. And yeah.
Yeah, and it is, as you were talking a minute ago, what the phrase that just came into my head was perfectly imperfect.
Yeah,
there's something in that's the paradox of life, is both perfect and imperfect, just playing out all of the time.
Because something that comes to me there is we begin to see the perfect when we accept the imperfections.
Yes.
In the topic, it was kind of like, so why does life have to be perfect? And I know there's kind of a whole other discussion here that is about that whole we set ourselves this bar of having to be perfect ourselves and life having to be perfect. And there's something around accepting life on life's terms and seeing that we don't have to be in control or change anything. Nothing has to be different for us to see that perfection. And I don't know, it's kind of seeing life just as it is. And if that is imperfect to you at this moment, life just as it is perfectly okay.
Yeah, it just, as you were saying that about about it being about accepting the imperfections, I was reminded we had a little on Monday when I came back into the office. Deb said, "Oh, by the way, I've got a little confession. I think I've made a mistake." We've started. I know we've started a new video series that goes out to our mailing list, and the first one went out on Monday. And before I'd gone on holiday, we'd kind of had a full-on sit down. This is what you need to do while I'm away. This
with a bazillion things, you understand.
Bazillion things. She was very busy. And we kind of talked about the video series, and we've made a plan. We would send the videos out. I think there's 5 or 6 in the series, and we're going to send one out a week. And so the first one was going out the day I was back in the office, so that was all ready to go. And what happened, I think, when you came to do it, you couldn't remember what we'd worked out.
I don't know. I set it to go, and I wrote the email, and in my head it just kind of, I wrote the email and said, "Oh, here's the first video, you'll get the next one tomorrow." And I don't think I just wrote that, and then it suddenly occurred to me when Bec was coming back, we had made the first video to go out before she went on holiday. And I do know Bec quite well, and you might be kind of getting you might be beginning to see how organized Bec is. And so it suddenly occurred to me when this first video went out on Monday that Bec was back in the office on Monday. And if what I was saying was true, we were going to have to kind of make the video, sort the video, do everything, edit it, do what we're going to do, and have it ready to send out by Tuesday. And I was like, that's me. That would be me. That would be totally what I would do. But that is not Bec's style. So I was like, I must have made a mistake here. Must have misunderstood, because there's no way Bec would have this second video going out straight away.
No.
So I was like, oops.
So when I get back in the office, we had this conversation. We kind of realized that Deb's gone, oh yeah, maybe, yeah, we did talk about what was going to happen. And it's one of those, literally there was no kind of consequence to it that would matter one iota. But obviously we'd had the conversation, okay, so what should we do? Because now we've got people on the mailing list that think they're going to get a video tomorrow, which they're not going to get. And it just gave us this moment of, hey, why don't we just create a video about how do I deal with making mistakes? Bonus. So the next day they did get a video. So Deb was absolutely correct. They did get a video. And it was just an ad hoc one where we said, hey, this is what's happened. We've technically made a mistake. This is how, for us, how life happens. And we just did a whole extra video about how do I deal with making mistakes, which I just love the way life can do that for us. We like to think we're in control here. We like to think, I definitely like to think we've got it all planned out. We're sending a video every Monday for 6 weeks. No, we're not. We're sending a random video on a Tuesday that we hadn't planned for. And that for me is all of the stuff we talked about tonight, all the learning and living we've done, the how do I leave relationships when I'm scared, where, how does life have to be perfect? The reason it's perfect, the reason we can leave bad relationships when we're scared, the reason we can buy cars and have lots of fun, the reason we can have a rainy holiday in Scotland is because this isn't on our shoulders. Life has got this. There's something much bigger going on here than just me being Bec and Deb being Deb. There's just something else going on behind the scenes, if you like, that's bigger than us, that's got us. We're a part of something way bigger. Yeah. Life has got this.
Yeah. And I can really see how I used to hold myself to ransom and insist that I was perfect. It was me, doing that to me. And what happened after this incident with the video was I just let myself off the hook. Yeah, I did that. I wrote that in that email. I said that. And it was like, how do we deal with making mistakes? We let ourselves off the hook. We kind of see that, it didn't go the way I planned. And that is perfectly okay. And, letting myself off the hook in that way, I can also see a time when my head would have been screaming, no, that's not acceptable. This has got to be different. And that to me is kind of one of the ways that we begin to move forward, and the insights that we have and the learning that we have begins to integrate. Because one of the other things that I've really noticed about this understanding is how over time we just keep seeing more and more and more, and our life gets lighter and gentler and more graceful and more kind and more peaceful. And it feels as if we move in that direction when we keep having the courage to look in this direction.
It's definitely a courage thing. It takes some courage to look.
I think it does take some courage to look in this direction.
So that was our topic for the week.
Oh, that was a good
topic. These hours just go so quick, don't they?
Yeah, they really, really do. So if you have enjoyed this and you want to see more of us,
you might do.
We are going to be live. Well, my head's gone completely blank. What else we're doing, Bec? So come on, Miss Organised.
Shall we talk about next week's YouTube channel?
Yes,
we can. So next week, same time?
Yeah, the same time, 5:30, live on YouTube. And we're going to be talking about the loop of guilt and shame.
Yep.
A
big one.
Yeah, that is a big one.
And our question next week, just checking the piece of paper to make sure I don't make any mistakes. On a similar theme actually to this week, because this seems to be coming up. We get questions in from people, so this one, it kind of jumped out as a similar theme. I want to change, but I'm scared. So how do I do it? So that's our question for next week. And as always, if you have questions or topic ideas for us, if there's something that's come up from this show or something that you've been mulling over for a while, hit us with them. We like to, as much as possible, answer the questions we're getting from you guys. So be in touch with those. So that's next week's show.
Yeah. And so we're live tomorrow in the Dare to Be You group. Is that true?
Yes, but we'll have to do it a smidge early, because tomorrow at 4:30 we've got our next free webinar. Yes.
And it will probably just be a reminder of the webinar tomorrow in the group, actually. Yes, we've got a webinar all about relationships tomorrow at 4:30.
Yes.
Which you may or you may not have noticed that relationships is definitely a topic that we love to talk about. So yes, we've got a webinar. That's a Zoom webinar, so you can be live on there with us. You can interact with us and chat with us. So we'd absolutely love you to join us for that tomorrow.
That's all over Facebook, but if you can't find it, drop us a message and we'll let you know. So that's tomorrow's. So we'll probably do a very quick live tomorrow afternoon, but then we'll be on the webinar at 4:30. So join us for that. And then I guess we'll be live on Facebook somewhere next Tuesday morning. In our Dare to Be You group, I think.
Yeah.
So join in that if you're on Facebook.
And if you have if you enjoy this and enjoy what we do, enjoy listening to us, whatever, and you do want to kind of take this conversation a little bit deeper and a little bit more personally, we do have a number of ways that you can work with us. And one of the things that we're really excited about is we've got a retreat coming up in October. We haven't really kind of put the retreat out there very much for one reason or another. It kind of hasn't. But yeah, we've got a retreat here in North Devon in October. We would absolutely love you to join us for that if that's your thing. Retreats are
they're just one of our favorites, aren't
they? They really, really are. And it's an amazing, way to get together, and they're brilliant. Yeah, retreats are absolutely fantastic. And, if you're interested in going deeper in this conversation in any way with us, please do feel free to get in touch.
Yep, and you can check out our website, which is now live.
Yes, there's still
just renewed it all.
Yeah, there's still. We've been over the last week, the whole time when Bec was away, I've been working and doing a lot of work on the website, and there's a lot of words that I could use that I didn't even know what those words meant before I started working on the website. So, and it's literally just up and running since last night, and there are still a few pages that aren't finished and a few links maybe that don't work. So do bear with us a bit, but yeah, you check out our website and let us know what you think.
It's daretobeyou.co.uk.
Yeah. So we've just gone over half past, so I think that's it. But thank you very, very much for being here with us tonight, and can't wait to see you all again soon.
Next week.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.